You need facts, figures, scores, and scoops, and the truth.
So what a week it's been. Obviously zooming in on the FIFA Club World Cup, and so much has unfolded. We had high hopes at Mamelodi Sundowns. The last man standing in terms of an African team would go all the way. But last night up against Fluminense, that is where they bow out. 0-0 at the end of the day. Trying to weigh in so many mixed feelings as to how they played. A Ribeiro getting a chance, and Ikia was hoping in this game would be the change, right, that they so need. A Matthews coming so close. Nonetheless, though, Mamelodi Sundowns come home now for a well-deserved break, I have to say. Coach Cardoso also coming out to say they need to trim the squad down, add more quality. That's going to be interesting. Tova Lakazi obviously weighs in on this. He talks about their opponents, Fluminense, what it is they needed to do. He goes as far as then alluding to Coach Rulani, who built this team, because remember, changes are coming, and then how it is that they fared there and what it is that they need to do. A part of me almost thinks that if it is that African teams have bowed out of a FIFA Club World Cup, should it be that African teams stop playing each other and seek more international opponents to up their game? But here's so.
That Sundowns coach Ulonduza no Rulane, he would change only the personnel, but the game structure, the game philosophy, everything would be the same. Then when you look at Cardoso, now you can see that his players, when he makes changes, his players, they take time to get to the game. Others that have been out for quite some time, maybe a month or 2 or 3 months, when they come back and play, you can see a difference, you know. So I think in Temshaya la Cardoso is to prepare his own team. The whole players, they should be prepared, they should be in the very same level. And that's one thing that Coach Rulane, I would say he mastered it, is that all his players were top-notch. You take out Umkwena, you put Umkulisi. It's like you didn't do anything. You take out Umshishi, you put Umbule. It's like you didn't do anything. You take out to Alene, you put Mayema. It's like you didn't do any change. When you look at the intensity, the philosophy, the playing, the creativity, how they score, it's like you didn't do anything. But with Coach Cardoso, it's easy to pick up on his players to say, I think here the coach needs to fix. He needs to fix in terms of how he prepare his team and the mentality of his players when they come in, how ready they are. Yeah, no, we need to win that one. If we can continue, if the team will continue the way they started against let me say, both games, they did very well. Sundowns did very well. If they can continue with the very same performance, Sundowns is going to create history in South African football and in Africa again. That they will go through to the second round. I'm telling you, trust me. Take my words. If they can play the way they did the first game and the last game against Borussia Dortmund, they will go to the second round. I see them going through to the second round. If they can continue with the way they're playing, with that lineup, the very same. The coach must change the lineup. Go with the very same lineup. The very same lineup that you start with, it cracks, it breaks teams. It breaks, the very same lineup, it breaks Dortmund. In that midfield, Ribeiro coming in, Matthews coming into those pockets, use the width. Combination play in the midfield. Allende, can you score now, please? No, please, can you score now? I know you're trying, I know you're trying. I can see you trying. You get to those good areas there in the box. I see you. I get you, and I'm with you, and I'm supporting you to say you can do it. The more you get to those areas, now you're gonna find it easier for you to score. But the thing is that if you're not used to get to those areas, that action, that body, when you want to turn and bend the ball, that body is not used to do that. So it's always gonna be difficult. It's gonna catch up with you. But I like that now you are getting to those areas where you can try and take a shot. I mean, the first game you took a shot and then they block it. And then now, Borussia Dortmund, you tried to bend it and then it went out. Look, I'm there with you. I'm with you. I can see you're trying. Keep on trying. The more you get to those areas, your body itself, you should get used to get to those areas. Then now you're going to work on what? On just finishing. Your body, how you turn your body in terms of you want to bend it there on the far post, or you want to go with the lace here on the first pole here. You're going to get it right. The more you get to those areas, then that's where you're going to get it right. But I'm impressed.
Going into the last game, I do think they will be laser focused. They can actually win the game. I mean, they've got the quality. They've shown that they've got the quality to challenge anyone. So anything is possible. If they don't, I mean, I think it's been a very good run for them, and they will probably take this as their pre-season, so to speak. Yeah, you've seen how Keanu Cupido has emerged. He's done exceptionally well. Lebo Mutiba is coming as a sub, and he's done very well. So I think it's something to build on going into the next season.
So Renilwe Letsolanyane also has a different point of view. And he's talking about how Sundowns were going to be pushed to their limits. I don't quite think that rings true for last night's game. However, he does highlight a player who at a FIFA Club World Cup obviously just rose to the occasion, and that is Thembi Nkosi-Lorch. He should play for Bafana. Yes, he has played for Bafana. But often I feel like players shine when they really want to. And I think a Lorch at a FIFA Club World Cup had another agenda because, trust you me, it is Scouts Haven. Did he have the same performance out at a Bafana? And does he want to give the same performance? That is just me playing devil's advocate. Yeah?
It's a tricky game. Yeah. In this group, Fluminense is one team that I've always felt it's the strongest team in the group. Should we say they are coming back? I'd say, based on what I said before, when you are playing against the top team, you are forced to get to that level and compete. Of which I'm sure that Sundowns will give a good account of themselves against Fluminense. But with the games that I've watched, the Fluminense in the Club World Cup and before, I think based on what I thought, they are the strongest team in the group. I think Sundowns will definitely have to dig deep, work extremely hard for them to win that game. And because it's very important, it can be the game that keeps them or that puts them into the thing, the knockout stages. So tricky one, but doable. Very, very, very difficult. Very difficult.
If you had to offer Mamelodi Sundowns coach like any advice right now, leading to this match against Fluminense, what advice would you offer him? Like in terms of the structure, the tactics, which players to play, which players to not play, like Kabuanglen.
Sure. The advice is to Kidibuang more are not sort of reality based, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm not on the field, and I don't really know the idea or the thinking of how he wants to approach, right? Mara, for me, the two games that they've played very well. And it's more or less the same group of players. One, a different country. Two, the climate is different and whatnot. So I'm sure that the two games have really stressed the player in terms of tiredness and whatnot. So I think maybe refreshing the team, putting in one or two new players that will obviously help the team freshness and the way team has been playing in terms of a lot of movement, keeping the ball more, making runs, a lot behind the defense and without the ball. I think with how they've played, with the structure that they've played, but more disciplined, more recognizing the moments on when to play, when to kick the ball away, just to be safe, avoid conceding the goal very early, and get critical moments. We will give Mamelodi Sundowns a chance. If the team doesn't score, I know for a fact that Sundowns will create chances, and when they do that, they convert whatever chance they score, they'll win the game. Top player. He has done well, obviously previously for Pirates, Mamelodi Sundowns, but obviously it's more of the off the field stuff that really hindered his progress, his growth in the game, and obviously a lot of injuries. He got an opportunity to revive and show people that the lodge that he is when he was loaned go away, that he's been doing well in the league, did very well, and then now he's one of their best performers now in that tournament, and this is the lodge that we've known in the country. I mean, you can't be a very average player. You can't. So to show that Lodge has quality, Lodge is one of the top players that we have in the country. He's showing it at that level, and when you are playing well, when you are performing well, I think you deserve to be called for a national team. I think so.
Brad Jakes, as you know, always brings in the best of the best in the local footballing world and has really robust conversations. But he shares his thoughts around Pirates' new coach. And I know that we spoke to him, Thokozisi Dube of the Far Post, and he was like, Rulani, there is no way he is coming back. And he was basing that obviously off how Rulani exited at Pirates at the time when he was there. So Brad Jakes now weighs in on the new leadership out at Orlando. Is it going to work? Is it the right fit? I'm still in two minds. And then obviously the transfer window is really robust at the moment. Sipho Mbule? I am not denying the man, his talent. I think I'm more worried about what happens off the pitch with Sipho than what happens on the pitch with Sipho. And how is Pirates going to keep this man at bay?
You Pirates fans were looking for Rulani to come. You guys are unrealistic. Rulani Mokoena, Pirates. Rulani is an international coach. He's worked at Wydad Casablanca. I personally would have been disappointed if he had come to Pirates. Not because I don't want him for Pirates, but I think he's tasted continental football, and if I were him, I'll stay in Africa. There's talk that they want him at Zamalek, and I think that's a club he should go to. If he doesn't get Zamalek, there's quite a lot of countries in Africa, North Africa especially, where I think they will want him. If you look at what he did at Wydad, he didn't win the league, and he left a little earlier, but I don't think Rulani failed at Wydad. Wydad is a very good club. He took them to they were number 3. They are going into continental football. It's a pity the club felt he didn't do enough, but I think there's quite a lot of African clubs that would want him to join them, and I think that's where he must go. Here at home, if he came back to Pirates, the competition, it's essentially he's going to be competing with Sundowns, and that's, for me, was not going to help him grow as a player. Orlando Pirates is his home. I think Rulani is very emotionally attached to Orlando Pirates, and I think that was going to almost cloud him as a coach. I think he was going to coach with his heart more than his brains, and I think it's a good thing Pirates did not give him the job, at least for now. I think he still needs to grow as a coach. And the only way I feel he's going to grow is if he goes and tests himself outside. Tanzania is a country that's growing in football. We are seeing what Fadlu Davids is doing there, and I think Rulani should rather consider that side if he doesn't get a job in any of the other African countries. But I think he will get a job. Look, it's one, as you say, he's got big shoes to fill in. Jose Ribeiro I think, is going to be a legend of Orlando Pirates. For years to come, we'll be speaking about him as one of the best coaches to have ever coached Pirates. So the pressure is on this guy. He's a young coach, 46 years old. I don't know the other clubs he's coached. He's never really coached anybody else. Here in South Africa, we got to know him through Marumo Gallants, a club that he really helped. If you remember when he joined Gallants were really struggling, looking like a team that will be relegated. He came in and stabilized the club, got them to survive relegation, took them a bit far in the Nedbank Cup. If you remember, I think they were knocked out by the self-same Orlando Pirates, but it was a very tight match. In the first round, Pirates had smashed Gallants 8-1. He comes in, gets them to lose, I think, 2-1 or 2-0. So improvement was all around. You saw it. The players started playing. One of the things I heard him say when he left was that he had given Marumo Gallants management a plan for the club. He spoke about the development. He wanted to introduce girls soccer. He sounds like somebody who understands football, who wants to build from scratch up. So one of the things I think is going to really work for him at Pirates is he strikes me as somebody who believes in development. So the fear that many people will have that he's going to come in and destroy this whole thing at Pirates where they believe in young players, I think that's not going to happen. He strikes me as somebody who's going to get in and allow the Reles, the Mohaun Kotas, and even, who's this guy, Mbogazi, to thrive. He's played football at the highest level, for one. Lots of caps, over 60 caps for Morocco. He's played in France, in the, what do you call that, Ligue 1 in France. So I've heard him speak. I've seen a bit of Marumo Gallants. I think Pirates have hired one. I was one of those who, knowing Orlando Pirates, I knew they were not going to hire Rulani for one. I thought the chairman would go out and get somebody from outside, like he's always done, somebody that we did not know. But he's got somebody that one knows South African football. So I think Pirates fans should be happy. You've got I know you wanted Rulani Mokoena, but as I'm saying to you, Rulani is not ready for Pirates. He loves Pirates too much. He's too attached. So you've got a coach that I think is going to take the baton from where Coach Jose Ribeiro has left and make Pirates better. I'm not sure if he can win the league, but I see Pirates again being the main challenger to to Mamelodi Sundowns for the championship. I think Pirates will win some trophies and they will do well in Africa. This guy is very Pan-African. I heard him speak. While he grew up and lived in France, he loves Africa. He's going to enjoy going into continental football, the CAF Champions League. I think Pirates will do well. Pirates will compete. They will get to the group stages. They'll probably even make the knockout stages. Pirates don't need much this season. I don't think. You hear people saying, oh, they need to sign. Perhaps they need a few players there and there, maybe a reserve goalkeeper for one. Relay is still there for the one. He's got his final season on his contract. You have Mohau, who has proven himself. Mbokazi is just going to grow. I think Pirates are going to do well under this guy. So, Sipombule, everybody has been saying Kaizer Chiefs. Kaizer Chiefs tend to be very slow when it comes to making bias. They talk a good game. They don't have anybody shrewd. I don't know who does it for Orlando Pirates in the past. I know the late Brasten was very shrewd in signing players. I don't know now that he's gone who does it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sipombule, he's a superstar. I think that boy is a star. He just needs to get his head right, and I think he will be. If I were to say to him, go where, I think yes, Orlando Pirates would be a good fit for him.
So the three-man press, I guess, They too weigh in on Sipho Mbule. He's been given a chance at national level as well. How will he rise to the occasion in a Pirate setup? And will he? For me, it's really interesting to see what are the T's and C's going to be. Enter three-man press.
When they announced Mbule, I thought to myself, okay.
Yeah.
Because this is the player that Orlando Pirates has always needed. They haven't had this player in over 10 years, in my opinion. A general, a bulldozer, somebody who helps the team in terms of the attack, helps the team in terms of the defense. Technically very good. One of the best. You know, Mbule gets credit for a lot of things. But one thing that he doesn't get credit for is his technical ability. I hope he's the only one no sweepy ball technical. He's got technique, can pass both left and right. Unbelievable in terms of the passing game, combination plays with a lot of arrogance, is a dribbling wizard as well.
Yeah.
Orlando Pirates has never had a general. And for me, sorry, George. And for me, that tells me that Orlando Pirates is moving in a direction where they really want to challenge Mamelodi Sundowns. Will they win the league anytime soon? I don't think so. Because when you look at the profile of the coach, when I was listening to him profiling the coach, he speaks very well.
Okay.
You listen to the guy, he sounds convincing. Speaks about the tactical stuff. I want to keep position. I want to build out from the back.
That's what every coach says.
Everybody can say that, right? It's about application and implementation, right? For me, Orlando Pirates bringing in a coach that has never won anything raises eyebrows. The fact that they're bringing in a coach that doesn't come with his own technical team, that raises eyebrows. I won't judge his character yet because I don't know him, George. But for him not to come with his technical team, I'm worried because the Orlando Pirates is a completely
But Mina, I wanted to go back to something you spoke about with Mbule.
Yeah.
Are we not, and no disrespect to him, but are we not living in the memory of Mbule?
Yeah.
And not the, he's technically gifted, he's great, he's all of those things. Mara, when you look at recent history, he was barely playing at Sundowns. He left, got to his Kukune, played very well, and then went through his issues.
I allowed me to lose being an expert.
But this is
allow
the issue.
Me to lose
Wait, Lindo, wait. The thing is, yes, umuntu ukuthi abe mnandi is one thing, but to have an actual effect in the team to lead it to winning is a different story. Because I want Bamnandi, and then
you know what the thing is with that Mbule signing, ne? Orlando Pirates needs a match winner. Yeah, sometimes allow me to lose my expert and my analysis right now and speak as a fan of football.
Okay.
Right. Mbule is exactly what football needs. Arrogance, match winners in midfield. A midfielder should be a complete player, in my opinion. And we've subjected midfielders to specific personnel profiles. Oh, he's a midfielder that can receive after the press. He's a midfielder that is good in tight spaces. He's a midfielder that covers distance. We forgot that a midfielder should be all of that. We shouldn't be looking for one specific thing. Mbule gives you arrogance on the ball. He's a match winner. I am saying character-wise.
No.
Yeah.
But where was that?
Mina, I'm not fighting all of those things.
Where was that?
My fight is, shouldn't you be looking for a 25-year-old Sipho Mbule? Because it sometimes feels as though with this signing feels like Ukapina.
Yes.
Remember there was that time when Ukapina was hot and he was a free agent, and then he came to Pirates and everybody was calling.
No, you can't
and we lost I lost my mind.
I'm just saying, it feels like that thing where there was an expectation that Ukapina was going to come in and he's going to be fire and he's going to and then bench, released.
Orlando Pirates needs more than Mbule, for sure. They need more than Mbule.
So now we head on to rugby, where Skulk Brits weighs in on what's happening out in Cape Town. The Barbarians game is a sold-out affair. So what is Skulk Brits going to say about Arasi Erasmus that has named 4 uncapped players? How will they approach the game? And obviously, his score predictions.
I think Rassie, he was, I guess, my second last coach when I played against him. Thank you, Anta. So he was my coach just before the World Cup for the Barbarians. And the viewpoint, true Barbarian style, is bring funny players in. Barbarians will try to open it up. South Africa will I think as Sasha, will play 10. Give him, he has had a great season. And so he is just a player with immense talent. He plays what he sees in front of him. So I think the idea and the viewpoint, is, especially with Tony Brown coming in, they try new things, and for as a team, you need, if you want to keep on evolving, you need to try things, and so that is the one thing within the structure. Of course, Tony will try new things, experience new things. Rassie on the same side from attacking and defensive side, but they will play typical Springbok rugby, and maybe like people, the Springboks get a lot of grief for being sometimes one-dimensional. And we were probably very, how can I say, precise in our execution of our plays in 2019. From 2019 to 23, we've evolved, and now from 23 to 2027, it's gonna be the exact same thing. Evolve, try new things. We'll lose some games, although winning is important, but growth is more important. Not just as a team, well, not just as individuals, but as a team as well, that we can play multiple different strategies, whatever the team we play against or the conditions determine.
So an interview I think that you should listen to its entirety is because it just is so interesting. Cash in Sport weighs in on ticket pricing, and we're talking about the holy grail of national sports, and that is probably the Springboks, to the Proteas, to Bafana. And why is it that a ticket costs as much as it does? For me, the interesting part is everybody has their hands on the ticket already, because that money needs to be divided among so many stakeholders in order to keep that circle going. So here is Cash in Sport, Nobile, just chatting about the intricacies of the pricing of a ticket to a live game.
Yeah, so the ticket prices are interesting in that, for the most part, because these are what are called sports of national interest, they do try, and they have to try to accommodate the general public. And if you look at the socioeconomic conditions of this country, the general public are mostly poor, middle to lower income people. So you have to, when you consider those prices, look at what those factors are. But the problem is that we're dealing, well, not a problem really. The Springboks or South African rugby is a victim of its own success, in my opinion, with regards to this. They are now a globally known brand. They are 2 times, back-to-back world champions, and have now won the World Cup 4 times. So they are no longer a just South African brand. They are a premium brand, and they have to price their tickets accordingly. But the problem is, do you do that at home as well? So it's become very challenging for them to strike that balancing act between being a premium brand and the status of your country and the people living in it.
Another really great interview that we had this week was with Paul Mutlwane, just talking about the Proteas women heading into a World Cup and how it is that the coach has a very delicate job of obviously bringing in the young talent, and there's a stream of young women coming through the ranks, to balancing it with the better known names like Lara Wolfhard, for example. And this is what he had to say.
Look, I think it's given me a little bit of hope. My philosophy is always, if you can get into the knockout games, anything can happen. And you've got the players who are world class enough to change a game on a day. Marizanne can take 5 wickets. She can also score 50 runs. Laura can bloat the team out. Tasman now comes into that. So you have that opportunity. And what I saw now was there's a lot of fruits coming out in that middle order. You just want to guide them properly and make them consistent. And one of the other ways to make them consistent is to have competition. And that's what Mandla's been trying to do in that middle order. So I think with this series, it was important because now we know, and he knows who these players are, where their ceilings are and what they can do and give him. And then you can work around that to figure out an 11 that makes you competitive and that keeps you in games with the ball. And that's very key. And that's why I look at the all-rounders, Nadine, Henri, Dirksen, and to a certain extent, Snellies. They need to work on their bowling in the next 4 months before the World Cup, because that's what's going to keep us in the game. If you can then say we're going to rely on Laura, Tasman, and Marizanne to score us the runs, and all the runs that you guys get for us are a bit of a bonus, right? If you can get us 20 off of 10 or 30 there, here and there, that is fine. But we need you to be strong in your bowling. Focus on your bowling. Focus on being tight. Focus on not giving away runs and being a menace to the other side.
Yeah.
And you can let the specialist bowlers in Malaba, Cup, and to a certain extent a Masabata class be able to then take wickets on the other end. That's a recipe for a team that can do what Shukri's team did in terms of the sum of the parts coming together being greater than the whole. And you find yourself in a semi-final against an India and you blow them out the water because Laura is the best batter in the world and Marizan does something amazing and all of you didn't support around, and then you win a World Cup final and you just don't know what happens then.
Into the ring we go with Colin Nathan, who takes us all the way to Las Vegas for that bout happening in September. Crawford or Canelo? He's not putting money on either, he says, because he says this could go either way. What he does says, and what fascinates me, is whoever wins here will not have to work another day in their lives.
Listen, great guy. I've actually met Canelo, lovely human being as well. Terence Crawford is also a great human being, 4-division world champion. This really is a super fight. Is it one of the best fights of all time? I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
But there is a lot of prestige on the line. Crawford's wanting to become a 5-division world champion. And then, of course, there's a massive pot of gold, which when I'm talking about the money aspect for both athletes. Now, what's interesting is, leading up to this fight, they were all kind of lovey-dovey. There was a picture, an image of Turki Al-Sheikh having lunch with the two gentlemen. And then 48 hours ago at the press conference when I shot off, both of them got stuck into each other. So the first question that I thought to myself was, is this staged? Is it part of the hype? But it seemed to me that Crawford seemed to be getting under Canelo's skin. Now, whether that's for the cameras or really happening internally, I don't know. Now, the question I suppose you really want me to answer is, who do I think is going to win and why? Again, every time you ask me my prediction, I'm kind of sitting on the fence with these things. But I'm leaning towards Crawford. And I'll tell you why I'm leaning towards Crawford. I was reading a comment last night that Canelo put down a 200-pound Edgar Kalenga with one left hook, and what's he going to do to a smaller man? Well, the point is he has to catch a smaller man. And if we're perfectly honest with the boxing world, Crawford's last fight against Mandramov was, give and take, and it went like all the way to a position where it was kind of life and death. And then Canelo won an absolute boring snooze fest against William Skull, which both fighters didn't really, clock in a really great performance. Now, is it because, they couldn't get up for the fight mentally and emotionally? And are they going to get up for this fight now? Father time is creeping up on both guys. We've seen that. Canelo seems, even though he's a younger guy, seems to be getting a little older, even though he's a year or two younger than Crawford. Crawford being 37. He's a very tricky, cagey southpaw. But this kind of fight reminds me of, and I hate to use it because it was such a great fight. Sugar Ray Leonard was inactive for 4 years, and he came back and he beat Marvelous Marvin Hagler, who was a bigger, naturally stronger middleweight than he was. I have the feeling that this fight could go down to the wire. I have a feeling that we probably, and I think if pace volume puncher. So with those things in mind, and Crawford being as slick and cute as he is, I think Crawford might be able to steal a decision. The other factor to consider is the natural size of Canelo against much smaller guy of Crawford. And you think that, well, if Canelo can land clean, he's obviously going to do damage to Crawford. Both of my predictions are if. It's not a question of when.
Yeah.
So I am kind of sitting on the fence, but I'm leaning very slightly towards Crawford just based on styles. So firstly, let me just compliment my friend Cairo, we go back like I think 20 years before all of this stuff, before our careers in combat sports really took off. And he's always been innovative, and he's always been a lateral thinker, so big respect to him. And, EFC, and I don't want to diminish if there is an MMA body or commission, because I'm sure there is, but EFC really do look after their athletes from that perspective. But effectively, they are promoters, and they kind of, I don't want to say they run the commission, but you remember, EFC is not governed by the Act.
Mm-hmm.
Now, boxing is governed by the Act.
Got you.
So it's obviously something every single convention that's brought up or meeting where there should be some sort of, hospital plan or medical aid system put in place for fighters. And I think government really needs to take a strong look at that. Even if it's for a few $100 a month for each fighter that's licensed, at least they have that kind of cover for God forbid something does go wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously within a boxing ring. So I agree with you, and that's something that really needs to be looked at. And I'm all for that kind of policy. So firstly, let me just compliment my friend Cairo, we go back like I think 20 years before all of this stuff, before our careers in combat sports really took off. And he's always been innovative, and he's always been a lateral thinker, so big respect to him. And EFC, and I don't want to diminish if there is an MMA body or commission, because I'm sure there is, but EFC really do look after their athletes from that perspective. But effectively, they are promoters, and they kind of, I don't want to say they run the commission, but you remember, EFC is not governed by the Act. Mm-hmm. Now, boxing is governed by the Act.
Got you.
So it's obviously something every single convention that's brought up or meeting where there should be some sort of, hospital plan or medical aid system put in place for fighters. And I think government really needs to take a strong look at that. Even if it's for a few $100 a month for each fighter that's licensed, at least they have that kind of cover for God forbid something does go wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously within a boxing ring. So I agree with you, and that's something that really needs to be looked at. And I'm all for that kind of policy.
And that's a wrap of the week that was. The weekend ahead is chock-a-block. So know that we'll be back next week with Not the Sports News. From me, Romy Titus. Peace out.